Taurus, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today for this special oracle reading for the summer solstice. Let's see what energies you are stepping into, Taurus, for the upcoming season change. Let's see, what is Taurus stepping into? Ooh, look at that. You're stepping into the land of milk and honey, Taurus. That's wonderful. Let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. Unfinished Symphony. Very interesting cards to pull for you to start your reading. So it appears that the summer is going to bring in a lot of abundance, a lot of prosperity, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of play. This card always makes me feel this sort of the energy of, remember when you would look forward to summer holidays as a child, so that you were off school and maybe there was a vacation you were looking forward to, or lots of picnics and outdoor events, and it's sort of that innocent joy that we used to take in the pleasure of just enjoying ourselves, right? Without an agenda, without any sort of attached outcome, just enjoying ourselves because it was a fun day, and it's interesting. It almost feels like this is coming through for you, Taurus, to sort of bring you that energy this summer. And unfinished symphony, I was going to say unfinished solstice. Unfinished symphony is interesting. Behind that, we see new life. I love that. There could be something coming to a close here, or something coming back for resolution. You may be you may already be feeling this with respect to what's happening within your energy right now. You might be feeling sort of this anticipation or something building, like momentum. The energy is growing around something sort of being resolved. And I feel like the resolution of this is going to be one that feels very much in alignment with you when I see that milk and honey part. So Taurus, you might be in the midst of sort of tying loose ends, bringing something to resolution, maybe closing out something that has long needed to sort of have your focus and attention, so that you can sort of see what it is about this unfinished moment or experience that needs resolution. It might be something that you've just been holding back on, and suddenly in this shift of season, you might feel ready to tackle this. And I feel like it's going to serve you. Now, let's see here. What are the aspects that you need to surrender or surrender to? Two cards coming out for you here. Surrender, denial, and surrender to effortlessness. Let's look at this denial one first, because this could have roots in this unfinished symphony. It says here, accept people and situations exactly as they are without denying the difficulties. Then you can see clearly and make the best decision. And I also feel like surrendering denial might be sort of along the lines of seeing things as they are and not denying that to yourself anymore, to truly see things as they are. And either, there's this idea that you can accept things. If you can't accept it, try and change it. If you can't change it, then it might not be for you. It might be something you need to walk away from. If you can't accept it and you can't change it and you can't live with it, then it might be something that, it's not for you. So sometimes we get in denial of that, and then things sit for a long time as unfinished symphonies. So it looks like Taurus is being called up to sort of be honest about something. Don't be in denial. Notice how the figure in the card is wearing a blindfold. Surrender to effortlessness says, stop pushing so hard. The art of living means going with the flow instead of trying to force the river. You know what this makes me think of? This makes me think that there's something in your life that you are trying to change into something else, and you haven't had any success. It's like you're trying to, maybe there's a partnership and you're like, if only this person could do the following, then I'd be happy. Well, it's sort of the situation of like, you can't control that. Sometimes there is no amount of effort that can transmute something into something else when it's outside of yourself. We always have the power to transmute our own feelings and emotions and beliefs and whatnot, but to change another that's on them. That's on them to do. Bottom of the deck is surrender defensiveness. Defensiveness is a sign of weakness. To communicate in a more empowered way, stay centered and hear someone out. Then offer a clear, non-defensive response is on the bottom of the deck. So perhaps you're feeling defensive. Perhaps you're feeling stubborn. Perhaps you're feeling like you're almost trying to change something into something else and you haven't had any luck with that, but it has been long standing as something unfinished. This is very intriguing. You might be needing to sort of reclaim your power with this situation and allow it to be as it is and decide for yourself, do I accept this? Can I change it? Or am I going to just accept it for what it is and not be a part of it anymore if it does sort of trigger you into sort of denying what something is? We really at times need to just accept people and situations as they are and then make a decision with how much we want to be involved in that going forward. But to convince ourselves that we can change things that are outside of our control, that's a moment of denial where we have to acknowledge that, you know, we can't reverse the flow of the river. We sort of just have to accept that that's the way the river flows. And if we don't like it, we don't have to hang out by the river. You know what I mean? It's interesting. You might be feeling defensive right now listening to me say this and thinking, well, what does she know? It's interesting. This is that defensiveness can always sort of be an indication that there's something that's triggering us, right? Like the moment we get defensive and stop listening and we're waiting for our turn to sort of talk in a way that isn't empowered, it can really reveal to us where the wound is in the first place, you know? Now, let's see what message you'll receive from the Creativity Oracle. Let's see here. Ooh, that came out fast. 2 cards flying out. Okay, we see pitch and curiosity. Interesting. Pitch is be clear, concise, and professional as you can be when you explain your ideas to potential associates. So if you sort of take that message and tie it to the defensiveness one, we see that you're being guided with your communication, with your words. So you might be in a situation that it's going to involve a conversation. You might need to really be careful with how you communicate what it is that you want to communicate and check to make sure that it's not something that you're trying to force to be something else. People are what they are, and if they want to change, they have the power to do that. But it can be outside of your control, and that's something that we have to sort of accept, you know? Curiosity, the message on curiosity here says, be spontaneous, wonder, move forward, look ahead, and stretch above your present circumstances. So sometimes having a curious outlook rather than one that's attached to an outcome is sort of the higher vibe route, because you're not trying to change something into something else. You're just curious. And so perhaps in your curiosity, you'll discover how to finish this symphony, how to reach this land of milk and honey, but you might not get there if you're trying to force it. You know, sometimes curiosity is the better route. Now, the bottom of the deck says willpower. Use your willpower to bravely overcome thoughts of compromise and defeat. Man, oh man, Taurus, you are definitely dealing with something that is testing you. You are really dealing with something that is testing you throughout this shift into the next season. And it's asking of you, this situation is trying to teach you to release the idea of control and to use your willpower to sort of overcome these ideas that you're responsible to change other circumstances, things that are outside of your control. You have control over how you communicate and how you sort of, what your mindset is. Is it curious or is it attached? Is it rigid or is it flexible? That you have complete control over. But it almost feels like this situation has been long-standing, and it's asking to teach you something about your perspective as well as your approach. That's very interesting. Let's see here. To close this reading for Taurus, what is the final guidance for Taurus on this summer solstice oracle reading? You got 2 cards. Serenity and intuitive nudges. I'm going to start with serenity. It says here, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. Absolutely. It is time to honor, nurture, and love yourself more by seeking out and removing negative feelings or emotions that are left over from yesterday. Don't let past issues and resentments interfere with your serenity today. This is interesting. It really is in line with the rest of your messages here. So, whatever this situation is trying to teach you, being in a space where you feel serenity and you have sort of got this mindset of being curious rather than controlling is very interesting. I feel like, again, you're being guided to tap into sort of a different aspect of yourself. And we see here intuitive nudges, which I love. This card is saying intuition is the language of the soul. We are all born aware with a profound sense of inner knowing. Intuition is one of the greatest gifts we possess. It keeps us connected to our higher selves, the universe, and our divine spirit. So you may need to surrender being defensive and trying to force things, denying that things are what they are, and to adopt a more curious outlook that is sort of using your intuition as a guide, using this intuitive sense and your sense of inner peace. What brings you here? What removes you from this serenity? What brings you to serenity? These are all interesting questions for you to consider. Bottom of the deck is, again, it's self-love. You are being directed back to yourself because guess what, Taurus? That's the only thing you have any control over, And it says here, now is the time to love, nurture, and heal yourself. Self-love is not simply a state of mind about feeling good. It's a state of appreciation for yourself that grows and matures from actions you take to support your body, mind, and soul. I feel like you are being guided to this land of milk and honey through self-love and through finding what brings in that feeling of serenity and what removes it. Being mindful of that, using your intuition as a guide, and accepting that things outside of your control are outside of your control. Very interesting. I'm going to leave it at that for you, Taurus. Thank you for joining me for this reading. Sending you so much love and light, my friends. Happy solstice.